Hello, and welcome to the Hello English webinar, the next one in the series. The last webinar was all about writing section task 1. This webinar is about writing section task 2. I hope you people are going along well with your practicing sessions and you all are reading a lot and practicing a lot. Okay, to move ahead, we'll quickly revise about what we did in the last sessions. We did listening, we did reading, uh, we did writing some sorts, and today we are doing writing task 2. We all are aware of these 4 sections which are there in IELTS and the timings that we have for them. And we did task 1 in the last session. Let us move on to the task 2. This is Pratishtha, and I hope you're enjoying with me. Okay, the task 1 was about 150 words and task 2 takes up about 250 words with 40 minutes in your hand. Consider that as 35 minutes and not 40 minutes because this takes up some kind of your attention greater than that we had in the task 1. So because this includes a lot of opinions and conclusions, so make sure that you keep up some time according to your like how do you go about it. So keep a minimum of 5 minutes in your hand so that you can go through the entire writing that you've done. Okay, now again, these instructions are the same that we had in task 1, that they should be written on the answer sheet. The answers should be complete. There's no place for short forms, and do not write up just notes and do not write up just pointers and leave the answer, but then you have to be very precise and very complete in writing your answer. Notes can be made on the question paper, but then you're not allowed to take them out. So that's another part of the story. Test format and test format for the task 2. What all are you supposed to do? In the task 2, you get an essay, or you have to write an essay which includes opinions, which includes conclusions which were not there in task 1. Now this task 2, generally we need to have 4 paragraphs in this task 2, which starts with first paragraph with the introduction and the last paragraph conclusion, and the middle 2 paragraphs, that is paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, completes your entire essay. So don't forget to divide these items into 4 sections, where an introduction, conclusion, and 2 paragraphs, wherein you are putting opinion 1 and opinion 2. First paragraph, opinion 1, second paragraph, opinion 2. Essays can be of 3 types. They can have opinion, they can be non-opinion based, and they can be hybrid also at times. So make sure that the moment you get your task, read carefully, understand what the essay means. Does it fall into the category of opinion essay, or it falls into the category of non-opinion essay, or it falls in the category of hybrid essay? Now moving on to task 2, presented with a point of view or an argument or a problem. So the task will always have a view, what according to you is, and what argument do you put up for that, and what problem are they putting up. Now the intention behind giving you this task 2 is that if you are able to understand what the question says, do you know how to put up your points without being much of I and me, and are you aware of how you're putting up, I mean the logical way of putting up the points in the essay is also looked after while they are grading you on task 2. Now present and justify an opinion. Do you think trial by jury should be used in all criminal cases? Now if supposedly you get this particular kind of a question in your task 2, what will you write? How will you present and how will you justify your opinion? Such similar questions will be asked, and we would deal with them in a detailed manner as we move ahead in this webinar. Compare and contrast evidence, opinions, and implications. So for such kind of task which comes up in task 2, we have similar questions like how effective is it to reward good work with extra money? Now, do you support this or do you not support this? If you support this, why? If you do not support this, why? Now, generally, while we are taking up these questions, it is not about your very personal opinion, but then the opinion that you can put up very strongly. They generally give you options of opting one from the other, but then they want you to lean on a particular opinion that you have taken up. So you need to have a strong you need to have strong points that would explain them why this point. Evaluate and challenge ideas, evidence, or an argument. Failure shows desire wasn't strong enough. So, what are the reasons that you failed? They are here to look at the ideas that you are sharing. They are here to evaluate why did you come to this conclusion, why have you chosen this, and how are you going to move about this. To what extent do you agree? Now again, opinion, do you agree to this or you not agree to this? Quality of arguments, are they well logical, are they well considered, are you sticking up or are you moving from this to that? Because as I told you, your paragraph 1 should have one opinion, paragraph 2 should have second opinion. It should not be that you are mixing up your points. So make sure the first thing that you do the moment you get your task is to plan the task. How are you going to move ahead? Your first paragraph that I said should be of the introduction should not be more than 3 to 5 sentences. If I say, if you are well enough, you feel you are confident enough to write the first paragraph, the introduction, below 3 lines, it's not going to work because you are falling short of some points. And whereas if you are writing the first paragraph, the introduction paragraph, with more than 5 sentences, then again you are writing something more than what is asked. So make sure your first paragraph, that is the introduction paragraph, takes up only 3 to 5 sentences. That's it. Ideas and evidence to support your points. Yes, you need to have ideas and evidence that support your points. You have to have a quality of communication. You cannot go writing long just because it's an essay. You cannot go on and on writing. So you need a communicative quality. That is what IELTS, the entire IELTS looks after. It's a communicative exam and not an intellect, not an exam on your intellect. Your vocabulary and sentence structure. Yes, your vocabulary does not necessarily be very fancy, but then it has to be apt. Like if I give you an example, uh, drawing ire and angered. Now ire, IRE, is one word and angered is another word. Now these two words do mean the same, but then it's your ability to use the word in the correct sequence, in the correct place. So if you are well aware, it's a very, very small word. Let me write it up over here for you. IRE. It's a very simple word which replaces anger. Now, if I am using anger here, I can use ire also. So you have to be choosy and picky enough to use such words in a wonderful manner. Given a discussion topic, given a discussion topic, test ability to discuss a problem or present, justify your opinions, uh, compare and contrast evidence and opinions, and argue on a particular case. Now, what are we doing while we are arguing? We are putting up our points and we are not at all fighting. So make sure that you are using your words in a very proper way, right? So while you are comparing and contrasting, while you are arguing, make sure you do not sound much of I. It should be based on the general statement or the topic that is given. Again, your topic and your question are two different stories, so do not mix in them. Evaluate and challenge your ideas, evidence, and arguments. This is what is about task 2. Now, how are we marking up? How are we marked upon your task 2? We are assessed on our arguments, ideas, and evidence. What is the evidence that we are providing for our ideas? How are our logic? How are our arguments? Are they logical enough? Are they well supported by the evidence? Is the personal experience getting a place in your opinions? I mean, if the question is about whether you choose to live in the countryside um, or on the other way, so then you have to have personal experience which gives a touch, but with the evidence. No, you cannot write up some stories that are not relevant to the topic and which would take up a lot of space. So make sure your space is consumed in a proper way. You have to write fluently. That means the break should have a genuinity. If you're breaking up, if there is a period used between two sentences, make sure that the period is responsibly used. Writing cohesive sentences. In the last webinar, we had a discussion regarding what is cohesive sentences. So again, I would like to give you a detailed way of how are cohesive sentences used and what exactly are cohesive sentences. But it needs a longer time, so we need to discuss in detail while we have a specific session on cohesive sentences. Vocabulary and sentence structure. Yes, you need to have a wide range of vocabulary. You need to have variety of words, but make sure you use them in a proper way. If you are using a wonderful vocabulary, but then you're not sure of what exactly is the format of the vocabulary, are you using it in a verb form, or if the sentence needs it in the noun form and you're using it in a verb form, again, there are chances of losing marks in spite of using a vocabulary. So make sure while you use a vocabulary, they are apt enough and in the proper form. Now, spelling, yes, you cannot play with your spellings because they take up a real importance. Generally, the problem that arises with your spellings is the IE thing. Well, for example, in the words like believe, accept, and accept. So these are few places wherein you generally end up making mistakes. So if you have a plan of how you are doing up your essay, it generally starts with think. The moment you get your essay, the moment you get your topic, read. First point is to think. Second is to generate an idea or a plan. You have to generate what exactly are you going to write in this. Once you're done with this, you know how your essay would move. So now you have to formulate all on your opinions, that what are your opinions regarding this particular essay. Now you have got a direction in how you're moving. Your directions should be straight. They should not go haywire from idea 1 to idea 2, and then they get a break in between, and then there is no relation between idea and idea 2. So you should make sure that your plan is perfect and it goes straight. Now find the keyword. This is the most important part of this particular section. You have to find the keyword in the topic given. Once you find the keyword, it becomes very easy for you to move ahead with this task. Once you find the keyword, the next task is to translate your ideas into words. Mind you, your words are really important, but then you should know how to use, where to use, and when to use what. Moving ahead, this task carries more weightage than task 1, because task 1 never had your conclusions and your opinions. This is where your creativity comes out, and this is where they know that the question put up by them is understood by you. How to prepare for task 2? Look for as many as sample as possible. Practice is one key to success. So you have to practice a lot in this section, for this section, because this takes up your real challenge. Practice underlying key points and brainstorming questions. Do practice questions with sample answers. So make sure that you have sample answers in front of you while you are taking up your practice test. Look at the language used for the linking ideas between sentences and paragraphs, experiencing views, making concessions, giving opposing arguments, providing support to main points, referring to cause and effect, making comparison and contrast, and conclusion. Few points that are placed over here with reference to task 2 can be discussed in detail while we move ahead. And this is, though this particular task is about giving your opinion, but then leaning on your opinion again takes up a big story. You have to have a variety in your vocabulary while we are doing this task. Think about possible topics. What possible topics? Generally, they are taken up from the recent news that's happening, or maybe if it's a big thing that happened in the recent past. So brainstorm these topics that are there. You have to have a general reading, habit of general reading. Brainstorm the topics for the question and write timed essay. You have to be particular about what time are you utilizing to write this, but take up this particular task. Giving your reasons, giving examples, getting your personal experience there, and using those appropriate words in the limit is very essential. Study the questions carefully, underline the key points, quickly brainstorm the topic, decide on main points and supporting details, organize points in a plan, structure according to the type of the essay. What type of the essay? I told you there are 3 types of essay. One is One is it that deals with the opinion, second is non-opinion, and third is the hybrid essay. We can do this in detail once you have a booked session with me. Read the question carefully and read it several times. Decide what focus of the task is. The first sentence is sometimes the background information. The focus of the essay and the question comes after. For example, some businesses now say that no one can smoke cigarettes in any of their office. Some governments have banned smoking in all public places. This is a good idea, but it takes away some of our freedom. Do you agree or disagree? Now, in this type of an essay, if I say that you have to find up the keywords, what do? We generally find up the keywords with the help of words like some business now say that no one can smoke. No one can smoke cigarettes. Now, is it the keyword? Does it say about no one can smoke cigarettes in their office? It's a freedom. I mean, it's a choice. So we generally cannot go in by this statement. Now there can be a confusion with this kind of a word wherein it says some governments have banned. We are not talking about all the governments, but we are specifically talking about some governments or some offices, not all offices. So make sure you do not get confused. Otherwise, if we are not giving enough time to read, we might get confused between all government offices or some government offices. So this is a good idea, but takes away some freedom. So we are talking about our freedom also. Do you agree or do you disagree? So think about, take some time, think about whether you are going by this or you are going by this. Are you agreeing to the topic or are you disagreeing to the topic? Strategies and organizations. After you have produced your ideas, you need to organize them. So you have to organize your ideas once you are thorough that I am going to take up agreement or I'm going to take up disagreement. You need to organize your topics. Do not produce a list of ideas without development. So you need to have, like I told you, your first introductory paragraph should not be more than 3 to 5 sentences. So make sure your first introductory paragraph has 3 to 5 sentences, and then you have your second paragraph, one, opinion two. These are your 2 paragraphs, and then the last is your conclusion. Make sure you follow this order. Decide on the key ideas. What do you have to have in your ideas? You should decide about what ideas are you going to put in first paragraph, what ideas will take your conclusion, and your conclusion should not be very strong. Make sure your conclusion is subtle enough and it matches with the introduction. Your first paragraph and second paragraph, which is actually the second and the third paragraph in series, you have to put up your opinions. You can put them up strongly, but then the conclusion should not be strong enough. Select some supporting points for each idea in your list. So you need to have some point of support that you would provide to your opinion. Think about your own experience. Do you have any further points to add? So this is what you do while you are planning your essay. Allow some time to think about the question. So because they are habituated to it, and that gives me what happens, I really don't know, but then we can once they smoke. Regarding passive smoke, and so we might say no. So that is my opinion. Again, your person might not be good results by smoking. Business have the right to limit staff activities. So some activities can be banned, but then some you have to give the freedom too. Government limitations on smoking in public places. Yes, there are few limitations, but then you cannot put up a ban on every place and any place and every place. Good idea. Cost to society, passive smoking, litter, healthcare, benefits to society. These are the points that you need to consider while you are planning your essay. Benefits to society. What are the benefits that smokers give? They give tax revenue and the pleasure, obviously, to the smokers. Pressure groups. Smokers, tobacco companies sponsor us. Now there is an internal tussle over here. Takes away freedom? Yes or no? Government has a right to regulate citizen activities. Will citizens support regulation? Now you have to feel, if there are 20 out of 30 workers, if you have 20 who are smokers, then you need to decide based upon the graph of how the smokers and the non-smokers react. Reaching up to the conclusion, respond to each point mentioned in the task. Your answer must be complete. Make sure, read it, reread it to assure that your answer is complete. Make sure you do not misunderstand the question. I told you that the smoking was banned not in all government offices. So make sure you're reading your question very carefully. Write about something not required. You are not required to extend your number of words. So make sure you are completing your answer in not more than 250 to 260 words. Write about something not required. Again, that would take up your space, energy, and time all. Answer only half of the topic. For example, this is a list of things, this is a list of things that you are not doing. Answer only half of the topic. For example, you write about it, is it a good idea, but do not write about freedom. So then that means you have covered only half of the topic. Again, it takes up your marks while we are looking at the grader's point of view. Strategies to content introduction. The introduction, important. First gives impression. So your introduction creates the first impression regarding, have you actually understood the task? Are you able to conclude the task? Are you able to logically cohere the task? It should have few sentences, not more than 5 sentences, or say 3 to 5 sentences. If it is less than 3, you have missed upon something. If it is more than 5, you are going ahead of your raw limit. A few sentences, introduce the topic, only introduce the topic, or rather rephrase the topic. That's it. Preface the main points. Again, paraphrasing again is a different, an art that you should know. Define what you understand by the task. Again, this task looks at, did you really understand the topic? Show how you intend to approach the task, your intention, how you are moving ahead with this task. Now, this is some example that shows we are talking about the same topic that we discussed before. The strategies introduction. This is an example of how your introduction should exactly be. Now, it has complex sentences, and they have used how many sentences? See, limitations on smoking in business and public areas are a controversial topic. Again, look at the use of words. They have used controversial topic. Now, what is a controversial topic? It creates a lot of argument. Although they may be a good idea, it can be a good idea from the point of view of smokers. They may also interfere with people's freedom. It can be a question for smokers. Non-smokers agree to think that banning smoking is a good idea. Non-smokers can think it's a good idea, but then what about the smokers? But smokers naturally may not. So you have to consider even this point. Different cultures may have varying attitudes to whether business or governments have the right to ban smoking in certain places. So this is how your introduction goes up. They have used all the points, but they have just rephrased the phrase that is asked in the question format. So you have to make sure that your usage of words while you are doing your introduction is very smart. It includes vocabulary, but then the usage of vocabulary is proper. Strategies and body. Now, how should your body be? Like I told you, it should have 2 paragraphs, one with one opinion and the other with the other opinion. Let us have a look at how your body should be. Banning smoking in business may not be a good idea. Now, we are talking about first opinion that says it should not be, or it should not be allowed, because smokers may work better if they can smoke. So we should not ban. However, passive smoking can cause objections from colleagues. So colleagues even have their right to express their views and their opinions. So maybe they might not like the idea of carrying over smoking in the workplaces. Although such bans may reduce freedom, business are widely seen as having the right to regulate staff activities. Now, this is another opinion. Governments may also ban smoking in public. Yes, this may be a good idea, but it adds cost to the society of smoking, such as litter, healthcare. So if you look at the litter that is created due to smoking and the healthcare that is affected? Yes. So then some of these points should be considered while we are doing up the body part of the essay. Also, pressure groups such as tobacco companies may discourage limitations on smoking. So some tobacco companies may discourage limitations on smoking because it's their business. So you cannot take up their right to business. As for freedom in many cultures, the government has the rights to regulate citizen activities. It is also increasingly possible that citizens would support such bans. So some of them, like I said, they are two sides of the same coin. So people who are smokers may support this, and people who are non-smokers might not want smoking to be allowed in the offices. Conclusion. It is important, very important part wherein you are ending up your essay. You are concluding your essay. I told you your conclusion should not be very strong. It should not have more of I factor. Opportunity to leave a good impression. Now you have to make sure that you are leaving a good impression. You are controlling the entire essay over here. It should again have very few sentences. Summarize your key ideas and your main ideas. If appropriate, a final decision statement or recommendation. I recommend. Right? The usage of words here in task 2 of writing section takes up a greater importance. Use words like possibly, highly recommend, in my opinion, I opt for, this is more likely to be, to a certain extent. Do not get specific. In your, at least in your conclusion part, please do not get specific. Now your overall opinion, which carries a sentence, you need to have sentences designed properly for every task, every paragraph rather. Now this overall opinion, while we are doing overall opinion, your essay should generally have a statement that says this essay will discuss, right? So when you are designing your essay, write down this particular statement, because this is a safe way and it will fetch you more of marks while you say this essay will discuss. Now where would this topic come, this sentence come? It should come in the introductory part. Conclusion. This is an example of how do you conclude your essay. As a non-smoker, I believe that limiting smoking in workplaces and public is a good idea. He has used I, but in a very subtle way. I can also understand. See, the next sentence, it takes up again the counter. I can also understand the opinion of smokers that banning smoking in such places is limiting their freedom. So he is not giving a strong statement over here which says I accept the ban that is there on the limit, or I say no banning is a good story. So if the effects of smoking were limited to smokers, I would oppose the ban, but smoking affects the health of others, I support them. So he is being very smart while he is taking up the conclusion of the essay or the conclusory part of the essay. So make sure your conclusion matches to this level. Before the exam, practice writing time. They say whenever you are solving your task, to make sure you are concentrating on the amount of time that you are taking up to solve the entire essay. Keep up to date with your current affairs, because generally these topics would come up from the topics that are recently happening in the society. Write a list of your typical errors. You know your error pattern is more known to you than to others. So you know this is the area wherein I make errors. Maybe my introduction goes very big, or my conclusion is very strong. So I am somewhere making mistakes with my introductions and conclusions. So I'm paying more attention to those two paragraphs. Whereas the body part is taken care properly, so you might not have to give more of the importance to the body part. Now this is completely your choice. You have to know what your error area is and work more upon it. During the exam, use a pen, check your essay, give really a good amount of time to revise your essays. So this is again very important point while we are doing our writing section and task 2. Thank you. If you really liked a session with me, you can interact and book a session with me by going on to the link below that says https://helloenglish.com teacher SPRA04NG Pratishtha. And to know more or talk to me or know about more features of IELTS, there's another link that is given over here.